I was taken when I was 16. I thought he was my boyfriend.
That very night she left home at just 16, Rachel Kasich's boyfriend showed he was really a trafficker when he forced her to have sex with another guy.
He threatened that he'd kill my mom and dad.
So she stayed for 8 years.
I worked in Cleveland. I worked in Canton. I worked in Akron. The States, I worked in Pittsburgh, D.C., Atlantic, New Jersey, and Manhattan, New York.
Human trafficking victims are vulnerable. Traffickers used to spot them at shopping malls or bus stops. Now, a few clicks on social media, and these predators hook their next victim with some compliments and charm.
If you get one victim, you can make about $200,000-$300,000 in a year from one victim. And so some of these guys that have multiple victims, it literally is nearly $1 million business for him with very low risk.
This is an undercover officer from the Central Ohio Human Trafficking Task Force, which works to rescue victims every single day.
The reality is that we are now saying enough's enough. We're going to do something about this. We have leaders like, Attorney General Mike DeWine doing his part by allowing all of us setting the platform and really pushing for other agencies to become involved in the fight against this, because that's what it takes. It takes awareness, it takes people that care, and it takes every day investigating this.
Human trafficking is a big problem in Ohio and across the United States. Sometimes we think human trafficking is just somewhere overseas. It's a huge, huge business, and there are just so many victims right here in the state of Ohio. So this is really a high priority for our office.
The Central Ohio Human Trafficking Task Force and the Cuyahoga County Regional Human Trafficking Task Force are part of the Ohio Attorney General's Ohio Organized Crime Investigations Commission.
Most of the risk, not only physically, mentally, but legally, is all on the girls. And these guys are in the shadows, they're behind the scenes, and they have this invisible leash on the girls that they use, again, through feigned love, maybe the introduction of drugs. They're homeless, they're vulnerable. All of those things kind of on top of a young person is a lot to try to uncover without us. And when I say us, I mean law enforcement, because that is the number one way that these kids and these young adults can get out of this, is through law enforcement intervention.
We have task forces that are out there that are charged specifically to look for these human traffickers. In addition, it's important for every police officer in the state to understand human trafficking, because you never know when he or she is going to come upon a situation that, if you're trained and really understand human trafficking, you might say, oh, that's a problem. I need to really check this out. But if you're not trained, it may just go right over your head. So we've included additional human trafficking courses and training, both in the basic police training as well as in the advanced police training.
At the AG's Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy, there are many courses law enforcement officers can take about how to investigate human trafficking crimes and how to persuade victims to break away from their predators.
Unless you approach that victim in the correct way, they're not going to get the information they need to get them the help that they need. So it goes all the way from an investigative standpoint to an observation standpoint, all the way to how to successfully speak to a victim in one of these without re-traumatizing, and in a way to let them know that we're there to help and can get them the help that they need.
We received the tip from the Polaris Project, and it was reference a juvenile that was possibly being trafficked.
At the Ohio Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation, BCI's Missing Persons Unit helps any law enforcement agency with human trafficking investigations and identifies missing kids, usually runaways, who are at high risk of being trafficked.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children indicates that 1 in 6 runaway youth will be subject to human trafficking. So it was important for the Attorney General's office to take a proactive approach to these cases.
To help victims directly, the Ohio Attorney General's office distributes Victim of Crime Act funds, or VOCA money. More than $5 million just in the last year has gone directly to help human trafficking survivors in Ohio.
Fresh new beginnings. Fresh new beginnings. And that's what we deserve.
Those funds help survivors like Rachel and others in Cleveland who attend art therapy classes at the Renee Jones Empowerment Center.
Words that describe your experiences.
I have to come to Renee Jones Center because I feel like something's missing if I don't. And she saved my life.
Therapy, legal help, job coaching, even food. Whatever these survivors need, Renee figures out a way to support them.
These victims and survivors need a lifetime of support. The youngest was 9 years old that we've had, and the oldest to date is 66. It is not something that people get over, and any victim will tell you every day is a struggle. The vocal grants have been a lifesaver, allowing us to be here full time, and which means that we can provide more services to more victims and survivors.
Renee has been involved with the Ohio Attorney General's Human Trafficking Commission, which pulls together a lot of experts and focuses on education.
I love to see people take all that dust off and see the real diamond that's there, because there's real diamonds there. I mean, literally, I have seen beautiful diamonds, and they just needed someone that would care enough to show them another way.
I would never want to see anybody struggle the way I have. And that's in finance, mentally, from the things that I went through.
While Rachel continues her healing journey, she helps other girls struggling to get out of the life she lived for so many years.
I talked to this one girl, she was a youth, and I told her my story, and she broke down crying. She turned her whole life around from that, and she went to college, and I think she graduated from college and everything. She listened to me, and that just like floored me. I see all these young girls out here that do things that they don't have to, that they want to be popular, or they need new clothes or something. So if a guy gives them this or that, then, oh, he's taking care of me, but it doesn't make up for when he calls you out your name or slaps you or beats you.
Or forces you to have sex with other people.
I try to tell him, like, yeah, you're going through this and you're thinking nothing's gonna bother you, but when you get older, you're gonna start thinking of all this stuff that happened to you, and it's gonna affect you. I don't wanna see any of them girls sitting where I am. And I had a lot taken from me, but I forgave him. I forgave every man that ever, the ones that tortured me, the ones that beat me, hit me, raped me. I forgive them all. I forgive my trafficker, because I had to, so I could get through life.
There are a lot of layers to heal, with one human trafficking survivor at a time. In November, Mike DeWine issued a warning: give generously to Ohio charities, but give wisely. This after he filed a lawsuit against the charity Cops for Kids, which raised $4.2 million from thousands of Ohioans all across the state, but gave less than 2% of the money to charitable programs. In Columbiana County, a 756-count indictment was filed against 100 people in a large-scale fentanyl, carfentanil, heroin, and cocaine trafficking ring. And take a look at this face. Do you recognize this person? A BCI forensic artist created this facial reconstruction from skeletal remains found more than 20 years ago in Twinsburg, Ohio. The effort continues to try to identify this person. For more information, go to ohioattorneygeneral.gov.
The faith-based community, the pastors of our state, really play a significant role in fighting back against this opiate epidemic. It's everywhere. And so we've held conferences all over the state of Ohio. I'm just so pleased with what I've seen from the churches, from the pastors. There are many people today who are recovering addicts. You know, they're making it, they're functioning, they've been able to go back to their families. And the only reason they've been able to do that is because somebody in the faith-based community had faith in them, and told them that there was hope, stayed with them, and became that really important person in their life. So it's really something that we just continue to encourage churches to come forward, take this on. You're not taking it on alone, but you play a role that's really a unique role and that nobody else can play that particular role. The faith-based community has really stepped up to this problem.
Pastor Leanne Goff helps lead Sunday service at Family of Faith Community Church in Newark, but her ministry influence reaches well beyond these four walls every day of the week.
I don't do the typical church.
Church volunteers hand out food and clothing to those in need.
We're seeing probably about 800 to 1,000 people come through our doors every month. There's times that we will find people sleeping in the bushes in front of our church. This opiate problem isn't just the church's problem. It's not just the government's problem. It's just not education's problem. It's all of our problem.
What do we do when we go on a scene where there's evidence of heroin or someone is overdosed?
In 2017, she was asked to be a Licking County chaplain, which involves going to death scenes.
I carry handcuffs, I have a uniform, I have a badge just like the police do, like our law enforcement do. I'm going through QRT training, quick response training. I carry Narcan in my purse in the event that I have to revive somebody. So I have a whole backpack I have to keep in my car for any moment that I'm called out. It's much bigger than I ever thought, but the need is so great that I'm up for the challenge, whatever that looks like, to help the community.
That's exactly the kind of attitude Reverend Nancy Day Ockauer is trying to spread in her role at the United Methodist Church.
I was just recently given this position of Director of Addiction Ministries.
She travels around 5 Ohio counties, encouraging hundreds of churches, big and small, to get creative about how they can be involved in the opioid epidemic solution.
Every church can do something. If you are a large church with great buildings, then maybe you could open your facility up for programs for youth and younger children whose families are in active addiction. When they get out of school, they either go home to a parent that's using or they wander around the streets. Other churches may be small but have great hospitality. And so maybe those churches could build a relationship with a local recovery house and get to know the residents there, and maybe just stop by once a month and provide a home-cooked meal to give these people living in the recovery house connection outside their environment and create a relationship with a local church.
One partnership she's involved with is providing a Friday night meal to people who need one. Area church volunteers take turns cooking and supporting hundreds of people each week.
We started this Friday night ministry, started out of the back of a pickup truck, and we were feeding between like 4 to 6, maybe 8 people would show up at. We moved inside and it grew to up to 300 people. What we found is, in order to create a deeper relationship with these people, we needed to create a village. So immediately our volunteer program grew from like 4 to 6, and on a Friday night we may have upwards of 35 to 40 volunteers.
Fred Reeser helped Sean Copley.
I've been busted 6 different times for trafficking drugs. I ended up being a homeless heroin addict.
Now clean, Sean has rescued 6 others he once knew at a homeless, often drug-infused camp where people live in tents.
So it's like a ripple effect. You know, just from them 6 people, those are 6 families' lives that have changed, and it's rippling out. And it's amazing, it's wonderful.
You are perfect in all ways. My name is Allison Rambo, and I'm the Executive Director of the Nest Recovery Homes.
Allison Rambo had ministered to women and people in prison, but after attending an Ohio Attorney General's Community Opioid Conference in 2015, she fulfilled a calling to open a recovery house for women in Wilmington called The Nest.
The Nest really is a place where they could come, and whatever place they were at, and the broken mess that they were in, and receive everything that they could in order to fly one day. We found that most people lack the things that they need to be successful, and especially when you've been using drugs for a long time.
Leap of faith doesn't begin to describe Allison's journey.
There were days that I wanted to give up. I mean, Satan's constantly working against that, right? So there were days that I completely quit and I allowed myself to give up. And I, did all the I'm not worth it, God used somebody else, I'm not good enough, I'm a mess too, Lord, my life doesn't look perfect, pick somebody else. And then the next day, I'd get back up and keep going, because Satan would want nothing more than for me to remain useless.
We want to start in a safe place, so we're going to develop a safe place.
Now, in this family setting, Allison walks with these women through the daily, tiny victories of getting their lives back. She helps with things like trauma exercises.
Without finding the root cause of the addiction, they're unable to heal.
She even employs them. Allison created a lawn care and home construction business to help women like the Nest resident Haley Nimmersheim. Jobs are not easy to land when addiction is in your rearview mirror.
I ended up homeless. I was using multiple different drugs. Just coming here, there's been so many doors that have been opened and things that I could have never imagined. When I came here and I was immediately surrounded with the love, and just everybody just took me in as their own. I learned what it was like to really be loved even when I didn't love myself.
We walk alongside and help them, not in front. We don't do it for them. We don't walk behind them. We walk alongside them.
Allison suggests each of us can do one next thing: pray, donate, ask about needs where we live.
Everybody just kind of thinks like, oh, that's their problem, and I don't need to mess with that. And the reality is that God has called us to be the hands and feet, right? And wherever that may lead us.
We're just little family of faith in Newark, Ohio. But God's just looking for willing hearts.
Back in Newark, the path leads about a third of this church family to foster or adopt kids. Kevin and Jessica Deeds have raised their hands and opened their hearts.
We fostered 37 children over a 9-year period, and we adopted 4. And I would say 75% of their parents were addicted to some sort of drugs.
So well worth it. It was a lot of investment. I'd like to think we put a lot of positive role modeling in their lives.
We know we've made a difference. Like, they call us for help. They call us for just, to talk. They want to be part of our lives still. They still call me mom, call him dad.
I really feel God's like, let's take it up a notch.
Pastor Goff is proud of her church family and community family.
We come and we work together to see how can we do this together, because if we don't, we will lose this battle. So I've seen so many success stories that gives me hope.
The real progress we've seen in Ohio in regard to this opiate epidemic comes from local communities. It comes from the business community. It comes from educators. It comes from law enforcement, but also comes from the faith-based community. Every talk I give, I talk about that and say, look, this is an integral part. They have to be part of the solution, because we have to have the whole community. And there are many people, candidly, who are addicts, that the best way they respond is to somebody who has a belief in God, and someone who uses that belief to do the right thing, to reach out to that individual. And it matters. It makes a big difference.
This nightmare started in 2004. It was a male with a ski mask, and all I can see was his eyes. The minute we made eye contact, he started choking me.
After 2 hours of torture by a stranger,
he said, if you call the police, I will come back and I'll kill your kids, and kill you.
Liz Garcia went to the hospital so nurses could collect evidence. She spent 7 hours telling police what happened. Then she anxiously waited.
And I kept calling. They said that there was no DNA.
In 2004, no male DNA was found to link a suspect to her brutal attack, so Liz thought they'd never catch her rapist.
I always thought that somebody was following me.
12 years later, in the midst of testing thousands and thousands of old rape kits, investigators re-examined Liz's case because there were similarities to other victims who'd been raped by this guy, Nathan Ford. And in 2016, a new DNA test, not commonly available in 2004, was done. It matched. Liz was victim number 18 for this serial rapist.
I was happy because I was able to get closure for my case. I remember crying in the office when I was told that they had DNA.
I know it's the right thing to do for those victims to know what happened, to know in fact who their assailant was, and to know that that person is no longer out there and is a threat to them or to someone else. You know, at one point I walked in and looked at the shelf where all these rape kits were that we had collected from police departments all over the state of Ohio. And to know now that each one of them has now been tested and that we know in each case whether or not that evidence was there to point the finger at an individual to show that somebody actually did commit that rape. And you know, amazingly, in 36%, over 1/3 of those rape kits that I was looking at that day, we got matches. We found out, because of that analysis done by our scientists at BCI, we found out who the rapist was. And without those tests, never ever would have found that person, never would have known who the rapist was. You know, I think this will be something that throughout my lifetime, when I look back, I'll think, you know, we made a difference. And it wasn't just me, it was the great scientists that we have, the other people we have in our office. It's people who helped us investigate these cases later on, present them to a grand jury, take them to trial. We got something done that really mattered, really makes a difference.
Without that mask, without those gloves, you're weak.
Liz may have been Nathan Ford's 18th victim at one time, but she transformed into a survivor who found her voice when she faced him at his court sentencing.
Beyond this day, I will no longer shed another tear over what you did to me. Like a whole weight fell off my shoulders, you know, and I'm like, oh, I can go home now. Forget the anxiety medication, I don't need this anymore. I just felt like I can do so much more. I'm really grateful for everybody that took the step and is working towards this, because it's so important to us.
It has consumed my whole life. I did things I wasn't proud of. I sold myself for money.
When we first met Brittany Van Horn in 2017, she'd just been revived by naloxone from a heroin overdose a few days before. But her dark days weren't quite over. Today, she doesn't even look like the same person.
I've been clean 13 months. I have a job. I've moved out of Sydney.
She's working to get back her 1-, 4-, and 9-year-old kids who live with relatives.
I go to court every 3 months. The judge does a review hearing and, you know, to see where I'm at. And each time I go in front of him, I've progressed more than I had before. So it shows them that I'm working, I'm trying.
She's learned new ways to deal with stress.
For me, writing, like in journals, is a big thing. They help me to, like, release whatever it is I got going on in my mind that some people might not understand, you know. So I just write it out as if, you know, somebody's listening.
And Brittany has Sydney police officer Mike McGrill walking beside her every step of the journey.
He is an amazing man, really amazing.
I always think about the impact on Brittany. One person. You take one person, you save one person at a time.
Officer McGrill has also had a hand in saving a friend of Brittany's, Savannah Fout, whose heroin dependency landed her kids in different foster homes until she made one key realization.
It's hard to say I was a bad mom. It's hard to admit that you were letting your kids live the way you were letting them live. It's a hard pill to swallow. But once I did, and I admitted to myself that I was being a bad mom, things started to change.
Clean now for 2 years, Savannah has worked extremely hard to get all 5 of her kids back, now ages 10 to 16.
They're the reason I stay clean.
Helping Savannah is more than just helping Savannah. Now you multiply that by 5, and those lives, and it's just the ripple effect that it has. And it's not just one person. It's much Savannah, but she's also a big advocate of Narcotics Anonymous, Shelby County Counseling, the counselors that she has there, the medically assisted treatment program, her employer, who is willing to say, we understand your background, we understand the struggle, we see you as a valuable employee, and we're willing to help you along that path. And so she's got a place of her own now. She's got her kids back. I mean, it's just huge. But it's not just one person. It's this connection, and it's a relentless relationship with the entire community coming around Savannah.
It's amazing to have people like my caseworker, my probation officer, people like Officer McGrill tell me they're proud of me. Like, it's mind-blowing.
Savannah is a great example to Brittany that it can be done. The addiction struggle can end happily with your kids under your roof, your care, because you are once again a good mother.
She was in the same shoes I was in. We was both doing the same things with the same people, living the same lifestyle. So, I see, she's got 2 years and I'm at 1 year. So, in another year, I could be there as long as I keep doing what I'm doing now.
You can bet Officer McGrill will do what he can to make sure Brittany does.
I believe in the fairy tale. I said, once upon a time, Brittany Van Horn, happily ever after. I said, we're still to be continued, but there's going to be a happily ever after. There's going to be a white picket fence. There's going to be a place of her own, and she will have achieved that. And just to witness that, to watch that, just, makes me shudder. I mean, it's just incredible. Just incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Really.
Really.
Thank
you.
You rock.
You are amazing.
Thank you. Gracias.
We
appreciate you. You.
Thank you.
Thank you.
From the bottom of my heart.
We could never
Tell you enough.
So thanks.
Thank you.
We back the blue.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for all you do every single day.
About 1.5 years ago, Attorney General Mike DeWine really started taking notice that many of these families that were struggling with substance use disorders also had children living in the home. And these little ones have seen their parents use drugs, they've seen their parents overdose, some of them have even seen their families and their parents pass away because of drug use. And he really had this vision for better serving these little ones and these families who are struggling with such complex issues.
These are victims. These kids are victims.
And by implementing this pilot on the largest scale anywhere in the nation, Mike DeWine has really led the way in creating a blueprint for counties and for states across the country to better serve families who are struggling with substance use disorders and child maltreatment issues. We have 16 counties currently participating in Ohio START, which stands for Sobriety, Treatment, and Reducing Trauma. All of those counties are located in Southern Ohio. When we're working with law enforcement and the judicial system and transforming practice in the child welfare system, getting those who are in long-term recovery through training so that they can serve these families in a positive way. It's taken a lot of time and effort, but hands down, one of our furthest progressing counties is Fairfield County.
I think it's the best step in the right direction at the right time for Ohio. The last couple years, about 8 out of 10 kids that we've had to take into protective custody have been due to substance abuse, and almost 80% of those have been opioid specific.
Okay, we have 2 families, 2 candidates that we need to review today for acceptance in Ohio START.
In Fairfield County, on any given day, about 150 kids are in child protective services because they're not safe living with their parents. In half of those kids' lives, opioids are to blame. For another 30%, it's other drugs. Every week, a team assesses which families are candidates for the Ohio START pilot project.
The caseworker and I both spoke with the candidate and talked about Ohio START.
For START cases, I see my parents once weekly for the first 60 days.
Ohio START brings more services to families quicker. Caseworker Liz Maringer drives to homes, meeting with her START families once a week, helping kids get trauma assessments and counseling, doctor checkups, even school help if needed, while parents are rushed into detox, usually within a few days.
I mean, this program is huge because it's not just, okay, you're clean, so now let's give you your kids back. It's like, let's make sure that you're going to be able to maintain this sobriety and maintain these kids in your home. And it's for the long term.
Anything they need, food stamps, a place to live, transportation to meetings, is taken care of. They simply have to be willing to do the work. Normally, in non-START cases, this kind of help might take up to 60 days. Experts know when someone says they're ready to get clean, the best opportunity for success is right now.
The ultimate goal is to get the parents clean and sober so that they can parent their children. And I've been here for a year, and obviously the START program is new, but there is nothing better than when we are able to reunify a parent with their child. Those are the happiest days of work, and it's so exciting when that goal is reached. And I truly believe that this START program is going to make that happen quicker, which is going to traumatize the kids less.
Another unique part about START is that parents meet with a family peer mentor, like Sean Grossarth, who knows their path. He's lived it.
I am a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for a little over 5 years now. I've been through some of the same situations and some of the same challenges. And I think, though there's many different drugs that people are addicted to, I believe that recovery looks the same.
Sean says parents are usually a little more receptive to him, at least at first.
Sometimes they view the caseworker as somebody that they can't trust or can't relate to. So the family peer mentors are there to kind of bridge that gap, to be a friend, a peer.
I just felt initially, like from the very beginning, this was going to be an amazing program. I feel like having that family peer mentor is a big piece of it, having somebody with the lived experience of not only substance abuse, but also history with Child Protective Services agencies. Having that person to be able to come and be a support to our families that we're currently working with, I think it just opens doors that we've not been able to open before as caseworkers or supervisors. Nobody wants a knock on your door saying, "Hi, we're from Child Protective Services." That's, you know, but when you say, "We're from Child Protective Services, but we also have this peer mentor who has some experience and is willing to be a support to you," people start listening a little bit better. And not only that, but we also have families who are going to be more honest because of it. They're not just trying to get us out of their lives anymore. They're trying to actually get the help that they need so that they can parent their children long term.
And everyone wants that. Long-term recovery keeps families together, and it keeps kids from being re-traumatized over and over.
I think Ohio START is helping us strengthen what we're already doing to get more support and more wraparound services earlier on in the process, because that's what's best for kids.
To say that this model requires extra effort and extra time and extra attention to each of these families, what is more worthy than a human life? It is absolutely worth the additional effort to make sure that these families and that these individuals succeed and have happy, healthy futures. Our goal is really to create a blueprint for every county in the state on how to best serve families who are struggling with substance use disorders.
Hi, my name is Dan Palmer. I am founder of Operation Grace, which is giving relief to area children for enrichment for the kids in Scioto County
who are affected by this opioid crisis. I am a dad and a grandfather. One person can make a difference.
Dan Palmer is one person in Scioto County who is making a difference for kids, the tiny souls trapped in the middle of this gigantic opioid crisis.
These kids are the victims. They're traumatized. These are the kids that the parents are just looking for their fix every day, wondering where they're going to get their next fix. And they're in denial of their kids, what their kids need each and every day.
The kids who have no say, no choice but to live in their parents' bad decisions because of addiction and live without a lot.
They don't have a toothbrush. They don't have a toothpaste. They don't have soap, deodorant, shampoo, a comb, hairbrush, socks, underwear.
Once the word got out Dan was trying to help, an army of angels started sending donations to fill this room. Principals and teachers order what their students need daily at 9 Scioto County schools, like Sciotaville Elementary Academy.
Good morning.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Anytime that we have kids that need shoes or a coat or deodorant or body wash or shampoo, toothbrushes, they're here. I mean, within a day or two, they're here. The kids will come into my office and it's like shopping time. I'm like, hey, look at here, look at all this stuff. In one way or the other, the opioid epidemic and us, being so closely tied with Portsmouth, it definitely is a huge issue with kids just trying to deal with all of this extra stuff that goes along with drug use and overdoses and missing parents or grandparents.
There was so much to tell, I couldn't just begin.
You think about the lack of food in the home, the lack of utilities being paid or not paid at all. So we have kids here without running water or electricity for months at a time, wearing the same clothing multiple days in a row, things that we take for granted. We have kids that face that every day.
Dan's donations help Sandy Jarvis, who's taking care of 2 grandchildren since her 35-year-old daughter's fatal overdose.
They brought home baskets with shampoo, soap, toothpaste, tissues. Sometimes if they got pajamas. I appreciate that. I really do. My grandkids is my life. I live for my grandkids now.
Taking care of everyday needs helps kids concentrate on being kids, not just surviving another day. And maybe then there might be a chance for them to dream.
We want our kids to know that they can choose a different life, that they have the ability to have a different life for themselves. I think a huge misconception is that because we have such high poverty and because of all these negative things going on, that our parents don't want better for their kids, but they do. They want their kids to be successful. That's why they're here. They choose to come here, but they know that we'll take care of them here. And take these for your sisters if they're unable to.
At East High School, Dan's donations reach kids like 18-year-old Justin Mershon, who relies a lot on his school family, particularly Principal Jim Mullmeister.
Takes me to the dentist, takes me to get my shots, takes me to the doctors, haircuts and all that.
There was one stretch where he was sleeping on our bus and had been in the same clothes several days. So we made sure that he had a change of clothes. If we ever have a kid that maybe they don't have water at home, the electric's been turned off and they haven't had a shower in a while, there's a place that they can shower here at the school. We make sure that they have maybe a clean change of clothes if they need to, if we notice they haven't had their clothes washed in a while, different things like that.
Sometimes the needs are more complicated. When one of his students was sleeping through first period math, Jim started asking around about her and discovered she had a side business. But that's not even why she was so tired.
My mom's out all night. She said, I have to babysit my little sister, who at the time was an infant. She said, I'm only allowed 1 diaper per night. And she can't make it through the night with 1 diaper because she'll wet the diaper and she'll want changed. And she goes, I can't get any sleep. So she said, I'm using the money that I'm getting from doing this work to buy extra diapers, and I keep them hidden in my room. So when she wakes up wet, I can change her, she goes back to sleep, and I can get some rest.
It's hard to fully grasp the growing up some of these kids are forced to do.
It's a tough area. We have a lot of poverty, and we have a lot of folks that are out of work, and we have a lot of drug problems, and those are not good things for the kids. So, yeah, we pretty much accept the fact that we need to do what we can to meet all their needs, not just educationally, but all their needs every day.
We all work together. We are afraid we're losing this generation of kids. We are. Because we presently have, right now, in Sauter County, over 300 and some displaced kids that have been pulled from their homes. We're trying. At least we're doing something. You know, you can sit back, I hear somebody, oh, I hate what's going on, but what are you doing about it? I'm not here to judge people, and we're working together. We're going to do our part. We're going to do whatever we can.
Providence House is Ohio's first crisis nursery. We provide emergency shelter to children newborn to 10 years old who are actively living at risk of abuse or neglect. And while children live here, we coordinate service for the parent so that we can help build a safe, strong parent for the children to return home to.
At Providence House, they take care of kids in crisis and help them heal while helping their parents.
Children's brains and bodies don't forget abuse and neglect, and it stays with them for the rest of their lives. And it's frightening because you see the patterns, the high school dropout rates, the incarceration, the alcohol addiction, the homelessness, the adult health conditions that they're going to face. And I think that when you see it, it's scary, it's startling to know that it's almost predictive if we don't get in there early enough and we don't prevent this from happening.
At Family of Faith Community Church, about 1/3 of this church family is fostering or adopting kids. Many of them come from a drug-addicted parent.
We fostered 37 children over a 9-year period, and we adopted 4. And I would say 75% of their parents were addicted to some sort of drugs.
This opiate problem isn't just the church's problem. It's not just the government's problem. It's just not education's problem. It's all of our problem.
And in Wilmington, the Nest Recovery House is walking with women, many of them young women, who are fighting to get their lives back from addiction's grip.
When I came here and I was immediately surrounded with the love and just everybody just took me in as their own, I learned what it was like to really be loved even when I didn't love myself.
Everybody just kind of thinks like, oh, that's their problem, and I don't need to mess with that. And the reality is that God has called us to be the hands and feet, right? And wherever that may lead us.
I can't say enough about Relink.
The Dalton Foundation's relink.org is a new free tool that can help when Ohio kids or their parents are in crisis. Need addiction services, food, housing, counseling, transportation, work? Just pick from the categories, enter your zip code, and search your community's resources, including detox and rehab bed availability and accepted insurance.
And really, you know, as a businessman, as a capitalist who builds companies for a living, I think about all these things as a return on investment. And in this particular case, it's not dollars, it's lives changed.
Years ago, businessman Ray Dalton scrambled to find help for a heroin-addicted member of his family. He created Relink.org so finding help would be easier for other people than it was for him. 11 out of 88 Ohio County resources are in the Relink marketplace now, with more added every month.
We want to scale the whole state, 88 counties. By 2020, we want to have it full of all those providers on the continuum of care.
We have 100% economically disadvantaged, so our students are all 100% free breakfast and lunch.
In 2015, kids at Highland Elementary School were throwing chairs, walking out of class, and there was one suspension on average every single day. Not today. There are no more suspensions outside of these walls. Students instead are taught to work through their problems and frustrations, at the heart of it, to work through their trauma and chaos at home, which they carry into school. Students practice mindfulness. There are special self-regulation stations in every room. And there's dancing. Lots of dancing.
What we've learned when we just took a little bit of a risk is Our instructional time for that other 55 minutes is so much more focused. The kids are so much better able to stay on task that it's worth the 5 minutes you give up because you're gaining it back and focus the rest of the time.
We've really taught the kids to be aware of what's going on in their bodies. So when they do start to escalate and they need a place to calm down, they come into this safe space where they can take a breather. And we do have a lot of sensory options.
It's all part of this trauma-informed school where all teachers are trauma-trained. It's leading to happier kids, better scores, and chairs that stay on the ground.
We're teaching that school is a place that will love you no matter what, that you will never be asked to leave these walls. Because we know who also doesn't kick kids out. And gangs don't kick kids out, and prison doesn't kick kids out. So we want to put kids in a place where they know that school is a place for them, that can handle them, and that we will never ask them to leave because we can teach them a different way of handling a frustration or getting angry. It's a huge mind shift. Traditional educators haven't been trained on any of this. So it does take some learning, but once it's done, kids are in classrooms learning. What's better than that?